Yes, it is clear.
Yeah. Uh, Thank you. We'll start in a minute at 11 o'clock. Okay, welcome and let us start your webinar on data visualization with Power BI. So before I begin, I just want to know if anyone of you have any specific expectations from the webinar. What are you looking for in this webinar? So you can unmute yourself and share your expectation for this webinar.
I think the title of the webinar is what we are expecting.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so let us begin. We have actually very uh, tight agenda in a way. So we have 3 point agenda for today's webinar. Firstly, we'll just get introduced to data visualization. It's a very big topic, but we'll at least get introduced to it, what we mean by data visualization. With few examples, with few cases, we'll look at what is data visualization. So we will have a quick glance of what it is. We'll also get a quick understanding of what is Power BI. It's a Microsoft product. What it is what we'll see. And then we will get into demo, a live demo. And we'll try to see that we will have at least 30 minutes for the demo. So a demo will also help us to understand it. Just one is to look at the slides, but I guess it will be more interesting to look at actual tool and what is possible with the tool. And the tool that we're using is Power BI Desktop, which is one of the tools within Power BI family, product family. And it's a free tool. So you can also try it out later. I also tell you how to download, where to download. And you can try it out yourself. This is a very good, powerful tool which Microsoft is giving it for free the time being. So let us look at what we mean by data visualization. And simply put, it is essentially graphic representation of data. So we are getting data from various sources, be it enterprise applications like ERP, CRM, etc., or social media, or sensors that are there in machines. So we are getting data from various sources. And sometimes the data is big data. That is, means it has a large volume and has velocity. For social media data or sensor data will have high velocity. All that would be there. But data visualization need not only be applicable for big data. Actually, I mean, for the demo purpose, we'll see very small data set. But whether the data is small or big, data visualization really helps. However, when you're looking at big data or voluminous data, not necessarily big data, but too much of a data, maybe we're looking at Excel sheet with we're looking at an Excel sheet with maybe 10,000 or 1 million or maybe 10 lakh or maybe 1 lakh records. It will be very difficult for anyone to kind of look into it, read through those numbers. So visualization really helps, and that is where we'll be looking at how visualization can help in dealing with this data. So it's essentially about graphical representation of data. Now this is itself a discipline, data visualization, and it is as old as people have been using charts like pie chart, bar chart, and so on and so forth. Recently, it has gained more importance. For one reason is obviously, as I said, the data volume has increased. So we get too much of a data in the business organizations, or for the government also get too much of a data. So you need some way to kind of analyze it to understand it. So that is where the data viz, we call it data viz, data visualization. So in that case, data whiz kind of helps us. Uh, Moreover, uh, the recent interest in data science or business analytics is also a reason why data viz is becoming so important. Because when you're talking data science, one of the step in the process of data science is data visualization. And from that perspective also, data visualization is gaining importance. If a business analytics also, data visualization is part of it. So that is also gaining importance. So data viz is becoming very important. And then there are many tools which are available for data viz. Tableau is one of the most popular tool, which kind of pioneering in a way that it really help increase the importance or at least increase the perceived importance of database in business. Power BI is another one which is coming in. There's another open source software, free software called Apache Superset, which is coming in. So, but we look at Power BI today, but similar tools are available. And for that matter, Excel can also be used for data visualization. Obviously, with a small set of it. Excel has an inherent limitation of say million rows. So, but if the data is maybe 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh records per person, you can use Excel for data visualization. It will be a little slow though, but you can still use that part of it. Now, why? How it is to be used? How data visualization to be used? There are two things that data visualization is used for. Number one is communication. If you want to communicate something, if you want, business organization, you need to communicate. Now you can just tell, okay, this is what we should do, this is what we should do. But if you bring data to table, that really helps. So there's a famous saying that if we trust in God, everybody else brings data to table. So if you bring data, now when you say bring data, you just can't show a lot of table data, right? I mean, you can't open an Excel sheet and explain people. You need to show something which somebody can understand pretty quickly, and that is where this data visualization really helps. So for communicating, whatever you want to communicate recommendations, you want to communicate findings, data viz is definitely helpful. The second use of data viz is what we call discovery. You have got data and you want to discover something, and there are two parts to it. One is that you have got some assumption, some hypothesis. Hypothesis is the correct word. Hypothesis about what is happening, and you want to really get a confirmation from the data. So we call it visual confirmation. There's something which is happening, and you want to get a confirmation that okay, this is happening or not. So you start with some hypothesis, and you either confirm or disconfirm. Either you should not always go saying that this is what I think. It must be there, and you should not look for data only to get confirmation. Sometimes it could be disconfirmation, but it would help to start with some hypothesis. The other thing is exploration. To just visualize data to explore certain patterns that you could get. So something as a mining, you're kind of mining. You're really not sure what exactly you're going to get, but you're kind of exploring, and then start with a very open mind, very blank slate, and say, okay, let us try out what can be possible. What is data telling us, and that is very open ended. And again, you need good skills to really conclude it quickly. Otherwise, you can just go on exploring. So let us look at cases of how this data visualization is being used. So let us take this first case, which is so this is a story of a vice president of HR. We have just read an article which says that, and this is a US case. It says that the cost of healthcare has come down over a period of time, which is quite obvious because of newer technology. The healthcare costs have come down. Being a VPHO, she's thinking that she should tell others, that this is other main executives, that this is what is happening, and we should be able to increase, should be able to give more healthcare support to our employees, because cost remains the same. I mean, cost is coming down, so we can give more to our employees. So she kind of found some data, and the data is available. So she found this data, the top graph that we see here, which says percentage change over previous year. And you can see over the year from 1990 to 2015, the data, this is kind of coming down from almost 12%. It is kind of the change over previous year is what is basically changing, and that is kind of coming down. It is also compared with the GDP, and that is what the chart is. Now, one may think that this data comes in Excel, and you can use Excel to just draw this chart. It's pretty simple. Okay, so line chart, you can use Excel to do. The skill here is not about using charts in Excel or in Tableau or in Power BI. It's about thinking that if I want to make this statement, if I want to make this recommendation, which is what is shown on the left hand side, that the growth of companies' healthcare costs have slowed significantly, creating an opportunity to invest in additional healthcare services. You need to show the chart, which is kind of self-explanatory, number one, and it should not be confusing. The chart that we see in the top, which is kind of ready to use kind of a chart, there is also GDP that is shown. It also has the data over say 20 years or 15 years, right? Here I don't want to confuse people with so much of a data and so much of insights, so to say. You want to give a clear message about what exactly you want to show. So what you see in the bottom is a very simple graph. It's a line chart which shows from 2003 to 2013, just 10 years, and it shows that 2003 it was 8.6% annual growth. Now it has come down to 3.6%. Okay, and that's a kind of a data visualization which you're using for communicating your message. That okay, the cost has come down. This is not I'm just saying cost has come down, showing you data. This is what data is telling, and then I'm making a recommendation. So I'm communicating uh, to you with the support of data. And when you're communicating, I'm using a simplest chart possible. So interestingly, though there are many chart types available in Excel, and once you go to Power BI or go to Tableau, you get tremendous number of chart types available. I think a few dozen kind of thing that you can get. The beauty is when you're actually using database for communication, you should actually use only three charts: bar chart, line chart, and pie chart. That's a good enough, actually. Simply because people are used to it, people understand it very quickly, and there are pretty good rules of thumb about how to use them. So one should use these three simple charts, and that should be good enough. The skill here is that how simple you can make, how keep it simple is what the mantra here when it comes to data visualization. Interestingly, we see many people using a very complex chart for communication, which actually defeats the purpose. Okay. Now, the moment you move to the next type, which is we're talking about visual confirmation, that is where you may need to use different charts, and you need to really need a good tool to use different charts and to play with the tool person. So here's an example. Here is a marketing vice president who's looking at the sales per times of day, and has a hypothesis that customers must be shopping more on using mobile phone as compared to desktop during some point of the day. So that's where is the hypothesis. So do more customers shop on the site on mobile devices than on desktop at a certain times of the day? That is what he is kind of looking at. So let me zoom in and look at the first chart. Now, what we see in the first chart, yes, this is kind of a bar chart, and it shows the desktop, mobile, and tablet. Now, when you are confirming, it's a kind of discovery, but you have a confirmation. So you may want to. This is not really a good chart type. You may want to move to what is the line chart, which you can see is a little better in terms of saying. Now, one more change we're doing is that we are looking at desktop, mobile, tablet. For us, mobile would mean mobile plus tablet. So you can mix up this data and you can change this, and this is what you get. And here you could see that the desktop dominates. I mean, this is most of the time we are using sales is happening using desktop, and the mobile is lower. There is some time, say from 4 to 8, where the mobile is actually the sales is happening more on mobile than on desktop. So you can zoom in there and you can get this kind of a chart and you get precisely where it is going ahead. So you have a hypothesis and you can or some question to begin with, and this is how you could get this kind of confirmation. Now obviously we did it in 2 minutes, this explanation, but in the real life obviously you may need to really look at data, get the right chart, find out if the chart is different. I mean, you want to change the chart. you want to zoom in data, you want to kind of clean up data and so on. So there's not, it's not as easy as it sounds, but it's a very good way to look at data and to confirm what you hunch or what gut feeling that you have. You could actually look at data to confirm your gut feeling. Then the third case is the visual exploration. Now this is something which is coming from Tesla Motors. So Tesla Motors, they kind of plot these kind of graphs. Okay. Now, if you really see it, you will not see much of what is being said here. By the way, this is interactive chart that shows the pressure in the car's tires over time. So what Tesla Motor does is that it gathers all the data. So all their cars have sensors, and they get tons of data. This is just tons of data kind of a thing which is coming in, and they just plot it. So this is basically 4 points: front left, front right, right left. Sorry, rear left and rear right. So 4 tiles, and this is the dot. Now you and I can't really make anything out of it simply because we don't understand what are the significance of it. But this kind of a charts could be made for the company, and let the subject matter experts look into it and maybe explore it further. They may zoom in something, they may want to look at specific data, and then they may find some patterns, some useful insights which would be helpful to them. Now here the skill is obviously you need to know the tool very well so that you can slice and dice this data. But more importantly, you also need to know the domain very well. So if you are getting this data from say oil refinery, unless you understand oil refinery operations, you can't make head and tail out of it. Even the data is very good, kind of you have good database tool. Unless you understand the domain, you really can't understand how you can explore this data. How can you do visual exploration? But if you know your domain well, then getting a tool to visualize your data would be helpful for you because now you can see something which is not possible to be seen when you are looking at the tabular data. Yeah. So let me take a pause here and see if there are any questions that you may have. Okay, so let us move on and look at what are the options. Now this is doesn't look like a graphic element because this is simple a table. This is simple a table, but even though you look at this table, you should be able to figure out something out of it. These are obviously statistics, it's a descriptive statistics which shows mean, standard deviation, minimum and maximum values, and it shows the 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile. Does it tell anything to you? Can you just look at this table carefully and see if there's something that you can find out? Okay. Now, obviously, I'm just throwing your table to you and asking you to find something pattern, which is not obviously easy. But let me just show you one, and I'm sure you'll kind of find out more like this. Let us look at this residual sugar. This is, by the way, data about wines. Okay, so somebody expert in wines, I'm sure you will find something more about it. You should have some domain expertise in that. But if you look at residual sugar, you see that the minimum is 0.6 and the maximum is 65, which is looks like a big range, right? But if you look at 25 percentile, 50 percentile, 75 percentile, particularly 75 percentile, you see 9.9. So it looks like you have got some outliers, some data which is maybe wrong or maybe something unusual about it. If you just see the graph over there down, you also see that majority of the values are near zero, but there's something at the extreme which you can see, and there's something more actually 65, which is there could be a few values which are not necessarily correct values, or there's something peculiar about it. And this you can see in other thing also. You can look at free sulfur dioxide, similar thing is happening, and you can see down in the chart, you will see the similar thing over here. Same thing with total sulfur dioxide and so on. So By looking at these numbers, now obviously, as you get trained in data visualization, you would learn it better how to look at these numbers. But these are the way you could kind of figure out, what is data is telling you. And these are the graphs that you can plot to see how the data is, for a particular data set. Then there are other things like histogram is there, which you can use to look at histogram of arrivals. So arrivals per minute is what the frequency that you're finding out. So histogram is pretty popular. Then you also see a line chart, which is there. Line chart is typically used by putting time on x-axis, and then whatever you want to put, you put on y-axis. Then the scatter plot is there, which is basically to see relationship between two variables. So you can plot x and y. And then there's a box and whisker plot, which is good to see how the data looks like. So this is another plot. And then there's a hit map, which is being used, which also shows, uses color so effectively to see this is high threat hit map, and it can show, the red is kind of something danger, and you have green, which is better, and you can see the kind of, this is very good when you're looking at map per se, but it will also use for tabular structure also. So these are the ways which you can by which you can use data visualization. Then you could see some more graphs over here. So if I just zoom in over here, you can see that this is the data about tips that people, the waiters in the restaurant receive. And you can see something like this. Look at this data. You will see that there are more tips with $2 and $3, $4, more $2 and $3, $2. Now, if you see this data, the same data, if you take a little fine granular way, you can see that more people give round number tips, like $2 tip or $3 tip. Okay, there are other tips like $1.5 maybe, yeah. But there are other amounts also, but the majority of amounts are like round. So people kind of round off when they give tips. So that is something that's insight is what you can get out of it. This is about tips and the total bill. So obviously, the more the bill amount, the tip should be more. That is what one would expect. But there could be some exceptions to this, and you can see certain data, which is whether total bill amount is less, but the tip is more, and there are some uh, bill amount is higher, but the tip is lower, so on. So you could get, but you see the linear relationship. As the bill amount increases, tips kind of increase, and you can do some more analysis on it. This is the data that you can now take it further, and you can compare it with smokers, so yes or no, and male female. And then you can see there are patterns look little different. So this is females who are non-smokers. This is males who are non-smokers, and you can see there's a difference. There's a pattern which is a little different, and you can explore it further and see something about it. So what you can do with data visualization exploration is something which again depends on business. Suppose if you are the person who's looking at profitability of a restaurant, or looking at in customer perspective or understanding customer mindset, then this kind of a data is useful, and you can analyze this data, explore this data in greater detail. So let me take a pause here. We are kind of done with a very short 20 minutes capsule of data visualization. Let me open it for any questions that you may have.
Yes, sir. I have one question. Like
Yeah.
all the graphs that we studied, are we able to see them in Power BI?
Yes, obviously not in today's session per se, but yes, they are available on Power BI. Actually, many more are available in Power BI.
Okay,
Many more are available in Power BI.
so we saw two scatter plots. Like one scatter plot was for tips, total bill and tips, and then
Hmm.
there was another which had four scatter plots. So was it
Hmm.
from this previous one only, like the two scatter plots, and the first one is only one, and then second there are four. So these four they came from the first one only.
Yes, the data is same. So in the first scatter plot, we are showing ticks against the total bill. So all the data there. Then we are taking two more variables. One is whether smoker or not smoker, yes or no, and male or female. And then we are using four scatter plot. So we have now got tips total bill, smoker yes or no, and the gender. So we are looking at four variables with this scatter plot, four scatter plots together. So same data, you're kind of zooming in. So when I think zooming in data, what I'm doing, I'm adding more variables. And I'm trying to see what is the relationship between these variables. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. And we can do this using Power BI, right, sir?
Yes, this one is actually come out of R. There's another programming language for R, which is used for data science. So this data output has come from R, but a similar thing could also be done in Power BI.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so Shiva said clear, so let us go ahead. So when it comes to Power BI, it's actually a family of products which Microsoft has released. Uh, so Power BI, so BI stands for Business Intelligence. Okay, so there are many software tools available in business intelligence, and Microsoft is actually lagging behind in BI products, though they had something called as a SIS, SQL Server, SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services, and reporting services, and all that. But then now they come up with this Power BI software stack, which is becoming very popular, largely because Microsoft has obviously a good customer base. So majority of organizations, if not all, are Microsoft clients simply because they use Microsoft Office. And Power BI is tightly kind of integrated with Excel particularly. So it's no wonder that this is being used drastically, and the pricing is also very attractive to an extent that the Power BI desktop is for free. So that's something makes it pretty interesting. So what they have done, they have got one tool which is called Power BI Desktop, which is a free tool, and it's still very powerful. So actually, when I started looking at it, I was surprised to see that Microsoft has given away such a powerful tool for free. It's pretty interesting to see that, and you can use it as it is, as a standalone, and you can. So if you're a small company or if you're an individual freelancer, and or even if you're looking at a department in a large company, you could use Power BI Extra for free and do all the data visualization or data analysis work for your organization. By the way, when you say Power BI, it's not only for data visualization; it is also for data analysis, for overall analysis. But it is being more popularly used for visualizations. So this could be used independently. What Microsoft is proposing is to use what we call Power BI service. So Power BI service is something where you can publish reports. So the way Microsoft is selling this particular product is pretty interesting. You can use Power BI desktop to create reports. So these are all graphical reports you can create, and you can store them as a PBIX file, which you can email to others, and they can open it and so on. But what is perhaps better way is to publish on what is called a Power BI service, which is a software service. So even small companies can buy this service, and this is hosted on Azure, Microsoft Azure Cloud Platform, and you pay by user. So even if you're a 10% company, you buy the 10 user licenses, and then you can publish reports, and then people in your company can actually view these reports on browser, on desktop, or also on tablet or mobile. Okay, so that is where the mobile apps are available. So you can actually see these reports on mobile apps. So imagine you are developing some reports, graphical dashboard. It's more of a dashboard that we will see. The CEO of the company or the vice presidents can actually use mobile app to see all those charts pretty quickly. So that's is definitely which is possible with this Power BI service. So if you are independent, you are the only person working, then yes, Power BI desktop is good enough for you. But if you are working in an organization, and again, it may not be a very big organization because you are basically paying per user per month basis, so you can use this Power BI service. Now, if you're a large organization and you just don't want your data to go on cloud for whatever reason, okay, you also have option to have a Power BI report server, which is on-premises report server. So similar functionality like BI service, Power BI service, but it's kind of on-premises. So the data is within your network. So for large enterprises, they may not like to use cloud service, so they can use, and it's maybe more economical to do that, and that's where they have Power BI reports. And there is Power BI Mobile, which is basically mobile apps for Windows, iOS, and Android devices, both tablet and mobile. You can use to access this, to view these reports. So the reports are actually adjusted as per for the mobile screens first. Then there are some other things like Power BI Pro and Power BI Premium, but these are basically a variation on this thing. Essentially, there's a desktop which you can use to create reports and use either Power BI service or Power BI server to publish reports for others to view. So that is how one could do it. But if you want to really build expertise in Power BI or data visualization using Power BI, what you need is a Power BI desktop. That's all. And then let the companies kind of purchase Power BI service if they want it to be seamlessly shared. I mean, you can always share it as files, just like you share Excel files over email. You can share your PBIX file over email, but Power BI service is a little better. Another thing which is happening with Power BI service is that a lot of artificial intelligence is coming in this tool. So many things could become uh, easier. So a lot of AI is being used in this tool, and that way it becomes better to work with Power BI service. That's an advantage of it. Yeah. So this is how it looks like, and you see a real thing. And obviously, we may not will have time to look through all of it. I'll show you quickly how does it look like. But this is how it looks like. You can use a very good looking dashboard essentially, and more importantly, you can actually put a lot of data which you can actually, if somebody is using Power BI desktop, then they can play with this and zoom into it and see more and change it and so on. So it is what is also called as self-service BI. Like you use it, you self-serve yourself, it's kind of a thing. So you can use this tool to not only do communication. So this is obviously communication that you're communicating thing, but you can also use it for exploration, like and confirmation. So all three cases can be done using Power BI. So I'll now get into a demo. Before that, let me quickly tell you that if you want to learn more about Power BI, there's a very good course available on EDX for data visualization using Power BI. That's a pretty good one. And there are some more available on Coursera, featured one also. But the one on EDX is pretty good, which is a freely available course out there. We are also offering one course, 1 week course, if you want to learn data visualization specifically in the month of June. And we are also having a course on fundamentals of data science. I mean, data science is a big area. So we are looking conducting 6 sessions on fundamentals of data science, and that's next batch starting day after. So you are interested, you can join that also. So these are the learning resources, and obviously we also offer one-to-one or team mentoring if you want to learn Power BI extra. So you can learn on your own. As I said, there are enough courses, and we also conduct courses. But if you want to have one-to-one mentoring or team mentoring, so as a team you want to learn, so I can help you, in doing mentoring, helping you, kind of doing handholding throughout your learning journey. So that's third possibility that you can explore. So let me stop here let me take a pause, not stop. Let me take a pause. See if there are questions, and then if there are no questions, I can go on to the demo. So please let me know if you have any questions.
No questions.
Okay, so let me close this. Okay, now let me share my entire screen so that. Okay, now if you Google on Power BI, you can go on to the website powerbi.microsoft.com, and there is you can get a start free. and you can try it for free. And this is actually free, as in really free. There is no timeline, there is no trial period or something like that. You can simply download from it. You can see a different kind of products, and there is a pricing which you can look at. Uh, and then there are different with the US dollar pricing. But as I said, you can always download Power BI desktop. So remember, Power BI desktop is what you will download, not Power BI per se. There are obviously, I guess, Power BI desktop. You can directly go there and download for free. So that's one option you can directly choose. So it's a free installation. So so that's what it is. So let us now go ahead and get into Power BI demo. So when you start Power BI, this is what you see about Power BI. So we'll kind of skip all this, and this is how it will look like. So there are three terms that are typically used when you look at uh, business intelligence. The first is the terms called ETL. I'm sure you might have heard of it: extract, transform, and load. So here it's called get data, transform, and then visualize. That is how we will look at it. So when you're looking at get data, you can get data from multiple sources. I mean, different types of sources. It obviously goes with Excel, which is quite obvious, but there are Power BI data sets and SQL Server and CSV file, which is called comma separated values, which you typically open in Excel itself. You can also get web data, so that is possible. If you look at click more, you will see there's a good number of list of sources from where you can get data. Now, in our case, we want data. Okay, yeah. So you can see kind of databases, different types of databases which are available, like from Sybase and Teradata and all that. So those who are technical would kind of recognize all these names. But most of the time we could use Excel or CSV file also. So I got a CSV file, so let me use a text CSV and let me pick up. And this is a very small data I've gotten. Okay, one challenge using my Power BI is that it's a very memory hungry application. So if you have 4 GB RAM, then this will run very slow. Okay. The current machine I'm using is 8 GB RAM, on which it runs reasonably well, but you can't just load it and don't expect it to run too fast. And the reason I am using a small data is simply because we want to do a demo within 30 minutes, because otherwise it will take some time to load data. But it is reasonably good. I mean, it's actually much faster than Excel in a way when you are dealing with data. But yes, it requires high memory per se. So this is the data. We are seeing some first 200 rows. We can take as it is, we can load as it is. But instead of loading, what we'll do, we'll transform it, because we don't need all of this data. So when we do that, we will just see that. Just give me a minute. Okay, I'm sorry for the interruption. Okay, so what we'll look at it. So when we see this data, we're kind of transforming data now. So what do we mean by transformation? Is that we don't need all these columns. It has many columns. We don't need all of these columns. So we'll choose very specific columns. So let me choose columns. And for the demonstration purpose, I will use a few columns. So let me just use, this is country data. So I'll use country, continent. I'll just take developed or developing. And I take area and population. And I say OK. And I want to change the display name. I'll just say country. So you can change the name of columns and format. So you can see here, this is called Power Query Editor. So in Excel also you see the similar component, Power Query. So here it shows me what are the things that are changed. And you would see that it already had promoted headers. So the data actually had all headers in the first row. So it has kind of figured out it is a headers and it has made it like a header. It has changed type. It has figured out these are the text data, these are the numbers. So all that has been done. And then we have done removed columns and we have renamed columns. So with this, we are ready to close and apply. So now we close Power Query, which is part of Power BI Desktop, and will now get into uh, Power BI Desktop. So it will take some time to load it. And here we are taking only one table or one worksheet kind of a data, not much, 39.7, 252 rows essentially. But you could take more data as and when required. Are there any questions?
Hi Shri, Siva here.
Yeah.
It was very informative course. Thanks for all these preparations and presentations. And just have one question. Now you're importing a CSV file, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, we can import the Excel file as well. So my question is, do we need to prepare those files before importing into Power BI? Because I have Power BI desktop in my, I mean, I'm not advanced user, I'm basically a civil engineer. So while I try to import from Excel, the headers are not coming properly. It's saying column one, column two, etc., etc. So to avoid this, should we need to prepare those files before importing into Power BI? Sri?
You should look at your data. Typically, if your headers are in first row, I mean, kind of consistently, then Power BI itself will recognize it. So if I show you this data,
Yes, please. Yeah.
let me just show you this data. So this is I'm opening in Excel. This is a CSV data, which is actually textual. But let me
Okay.
open.
Yeah.
Here you see these headers are actually the first row. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
But in Power BI, what it has done,
Mm-hmm.
I can show you this data here. It has picked up, identified them as headers, and it had moved it to headers, and it starts counting one from here, actual data. So Power BI has that intelligence
Okay.
in itself to do it.
Okay.
You
Okay.
don't need to really prepare data like that. But in real life, the data may not be so clean. Sometimes you may
Yes.
have
Yes.
two rows or
Yeah.
three rows with some blanks and all that. There, you may
Right.
not get Power BI to work as what you are looking at. You may need to do some transformation yourself.
Our transformation to do. You have any tips to clean up those Excel sheets or CSV file before importing? Like, should we need to eliminate the blank rows or demerge, or some cells will be merged? We have to release that or something like that. Sri?
Yes, it's always a good idea to do it. You can do it either in Excel or you can do it in Power BI. The advantage of doing it in Power BI, you get some assistance. Plus, if the data is large, like maybe 3 lakhs or 5 lakh records, then doing it in
Okay.
Excel becomes a little challenging. Then
Yes.
Power BI is
Yes.
better off. So, same data, maybe you have 5 lakh records. If you use in Excel on this machine, it will be very
Okay.
slow. But if I do Power BI, it will be a little fast. It will not be too fast, but a little faster. So that's an advantage of using Power BI to do transformation.
Perfect. You answered my question, Sri. Thanks.
That's it. Okay. So now let us move on. Any other question? So now we have got this data, and actually we have only one table. So you just see one table, but we could have more tables, and you could link those tables. So for example, if you have employee data, so you could have employee as one table, and you could have their salary details as second tables, and employee ID would be common, so you could do all that. So this is all that is possible with Power BI Desktop. Right now, we'll just play with a simple one table. Now, what is interesting to us is the visualization, which is the thing that you see here. And you can see that there are bar charts, column charts, a clustered bar chart, clustered column chart, 100%. What are exactly very similar to what Excel has, like line chart, area chart. This is all what Excel would have. Plus, there could be funnel and tree map and donut chart and other things which are there. Plus, you could have something like R script visual. So if you're using some R script, like in my presentation I showed you some visualization using R. So that R script I can bring it here, and similarly Python script could also be brought in here, and so on. And not only that, you can actually add more visuals. So you could create visuals, or there are some visuals available on internet which you can download, and this list can go on. This is what is available by default, but this list can always go. Now please remember, and I'll keep on repeating this, that when you're doing visualization for communication, you don't need to use too many charts. The skill there is to how to make it simple. But when you're doing exploring data, then you need to use many different charts to see what this data is telling us. So let us spend next 15 minutes to draw some few charts. We may not be able to do all charts, but let us get few charts to get an idea of how this tool works. So let me take a stacked column chart. Just a minute. Okay, so let me close Excel, which we don't use. Now here we get this, and now I can just drag and drop. So I can uh, drag the countries. I can simply click on country, and this is taking some time to do it. And I can put population, and this is like a dashboard for you, so we can minimize every other things, and you can see this. You can drag and drop the. Sorry, you can resize its size and resize as much as possible. Please see that unlike Excel, this has a little more intelligence. So it kind of adjusts the number of records or number of bars based on how much area that you're giving it to. You can also do like a focus mode and only see one chart. So that is also possible. So you can have a dashboard many charts, and you can actually pick up some of them which you want to have. So that's one possibility that you could have. And obviously you can also filter it. So you could say that country, and you say, let me just filter it. So I can do a basic filtering like the way we do in Excel. And also in Excel, you can do this top 10 kind of thing. So you can just say top 10. And I need to get this. I say top 10 population. And drag it here. And then apply filter. And now I only see top 10. Okay, so you can do this kind of a small filtering out here. Now I can also do a kind of filtering which is more visual, which using a tool called Slicer. This is again available in Excel, if you use Excel. And here I could put continent, and I can actually now say I want to see Africa. Well, I will only see African countries over here. So I need to, obviously the challenge here is you need to really arrange these charts. That could be a challenge. So we are doing North America right now. If I do Africa, I can see African countries, top 10 African countries population wise. So I can see that. If I can see Asia, obviously we should see China, India, Indonesia, Pakistan, and so on. So you could do filtering over here, which is dealing with the tool itself. You're working in this tool, but you can also do a visual filtering. So this is good for people who are kind of not going to look at your filters here, but you want to have visual filters. So that is something that we could do over here. There are other charts also. So if I want to do a scatter plot between population and area, that is something that I can do. Oops. I should deselect this first. Let me do Control Z. Let me bring the new scatter plot over here, and I pick it for population area, and obviously for different countries. Okay, Now, if I we can see this a little more, and there's a question about this data cleaning. Right now, this is the data that I'm seeing. I'm seeing population and area, and obviously I expect this data to be kind of random. I mean, more populated near the zero. Now I see one uh, point here, and I just hover over it. See the China, and then I should see India here. So these are like outliers. They are the ones which are high population, high this thing. So let me just exclude it. Then exclude, and let me exclude this also. And you'll see now the data is kind of flowing in. I see this, which is Russia, which has high area. So let me exclude that too. And now you could see, I think this must be US, and you can exclude that too, and so on. I mean, you can exclude those data, and you can do again visually, and you can see some more data coming in. I can also use this slicer, by the way. So I can see Africa, and you see this chart is changing. If I see Asia, then again you see the chart kind of changing. If I say North America, then again you see the chart changing. So you could do different charts, and you can use a slicer for this whole dashboard per se. Obviously, I can do more pages. So there could be like Excel, we have worksheet. You could have pages, and in a way, teaching Power BI is easier because if you use Excel, then you can kind of quickly see that it is very similar to Excel per se. So let us go to page 2, and let me show one more, and then we'll kind of stop. Is map. So you see a map here. Now this is not possible with Excel. Um, so here I want to show country. Okay, and this is come from Microsoft. Uh, so Bing basically. So yeah, so you kind of see all these countries. Now I would use this develop, not develop. So this data is developed or not developed kind of thing. Let me click on that, and it will take some time to paint it differently. It's still happening. Okay, done. So now you can see that the developed countries, and you can see this again: Russia, here Europe, and North America, US, Canada, and you have developing countries in South America, Africa, so on. So this is a very good visualization, which is possible with Power BI. So this map is something which is pretty interesting, which is not so much available. And obviously you have other things. So if you want to have a donut kind of a chart, you could get, which is similar to pie chart, it just looks a little better. I can do continent, and I can do population. Oops, sorry. I should be selecting it properly. That's what is important. And population. Yeah. So I can see a donut chart out here, and I can see Asia is 4 billion and other countries. So there are many charts which are available. The tree map, which is there, which is also very useful visualization. You will see many of these visualizations now appearing in news also, because they use similar to. So these are the different chart types which are available. You can also have something like a card. You can have something like a multi-row card. So multi-row card, you can put continent, population, and area, and then you can see this kind of a card kind of layout which is out there. So many things are there. I think we can go on doing it, but I guess by now you got an idea of what exactly Power BI can do. Essentially, it has many Power visualization tools over there. The fields are out here. We have one table, so we have got one table field. But if there are more tables, we'll see these tables out here. So you can mix and match those fields. You can use any of these visualizations. You can also do some kind of formatting to it, page size, page background, all those things you can do, and you can apply different filters out here. And obviously there are other additional functionality like quick measure is there. Then it has its own language called DAX, which is you can use to transform data in a much faster way. So you can do some kind of scripting within Power BI and so on. But that is obviously for advanced use. But even at a simple use, you can use it to get data, import data, and use this visualization palette essentially to draw different charts and prepare dashboards which you can display. And you can save this file, the PBIX file. You can simply say Control S. It will show us a PBIX file which you can email to other people and they can actually open it and see what kind of a dashboard that you have created. So those are the benefits of using Power. Any questions before we close? Shiva, you raised your hand.
No question, sir.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm just taking up 5 minutes early just because I thought I'd be any questions that I can uh, answer. But anyway, there are no questions. I'll just quickly show you something more about charts. I think there are different types of charts, but I guess what I can show, I showing you all those things. I hope you have enough understanding by now in terms of how to use Power BI. Okay, so as I said, it's a free tool. Power BI desktop is a free tool, so you can just simply download, use any Excel data to begin with. Okay, just use the first simple table, try to transform it, and then load it. Just be a little have patience because it will slow down. But try to explore as many chart types as possible so that you can learn more about. Yes, sir. Saurabh,
Yeah, the upcoming 1 week course which you are running, what is the syllabus for that? What will be the content?
uh, the one with data science or the
Data
one?
data science.
There I am going to explain what is data science, how it is related to AI and machine learning and other terms that big data, all these terms that we hear. What exactly, how they are related to each other, all these terms, what are these areas altogether. What is the data science process, starting with data cleaning, how the data is cleaned, how it's visualized, how the modeling happens, how the presentation happens. So all that data science process is what I'll discuss. Then I will explain the tools available for data science like Python, R, and many other tools are available now. And then I will be showing a demo of how to do the simple, obviously, data science, simple data. How can we do a simple modeling with the data using one Python and the second using R. So there are two prominent programming languages. So it will also help you to kind of how to download, how to install it, and then you can use. So I'll demonstrate. So I'll have two sessions, one for Python, one for R. So I'll show how Python or R can be used. So that is the idea behind that particular session.
Okay,
It will be
thanks.
6 sessions from Tuesday to Monday, except Sunday. So I would do it from Tuesday to Saturday, and then we'll take a break on Sunday, and Monday we will have the last session.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So let me just quickly summarize. So we started with data visualization, what it is. We looked at two major use cases: communication and discovery. And in discovery, we looked at two: visual confirmation and uh, visual exploration, which is something which is more interesting. And then we looked at Power BI and we looked at various visuals of Power BI. And as I said, you can use simple charts for communication, but when it comes to exploration, you need a very high tools. And that is what you can do using this Power BI. So with this, let me close. Uh, if there are last minute questions, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, I can declare this to be closed. So let me thank you all for attending this webinar. I look forward to have you see you again in further courses, future courses of Vidyarthi.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and see you again.
Thank you.